What I'm here to talk about today is the SB 167, the so-called Maryland Dream Act. This law was passed in April of 2011. It was very close, very close. It passed the House 74 to 65, and it passed the Senate 27 to 20. So it was a lot of opposition, but it did pass. And the law was signed into effect May of 2011. Okay, so what does this law say? And I'm just summarizing. It says that an illegal alien can get in-state tuition at Maryland State community colleges as long as that student has attended the last 3 years in Maryland high schools and graduated from a Maryland high school. Also, this family has to have filed taxes for the past 3 years. He signs an affidavit that he will apply for permanent residency within 30 days of becoming eligible to do so. Males must register for the draft, and then if they complete 2 years of community college, if they want, they can continue on into a Maryland State University, again, at in-state tuition. And the law says that these slots that are used by the illegal aliens will not count towards the in-state slots at Maryland universities. Does everyone know how that works? Every year the community colleges have open enrollment. They can take as many people as they want. The universities, they have a limit. That's why your sons and daughters and grandchildren often apply and don't get accepted, because there's a limited number of slots. Within those slots, some are set aside for out-of-state students who pay about 3 times as much, and the others are for in-state students. So this law says, but there's no, every year they jigger these numbers around. It's not like there's law says that there's a certain number of slots. So this is totally bogus that they say these slots going to illegal aliens won't take them away from citizens, because we don't know how many there would have been. And if they take away the slots from the out-of-state students, the taxpayers have to make up that difference. There's a lot of lies in this, and you'll hear a lot of lies. Like one of the lies you'll hear is people will say, this is for the children of illegal aliens, or children of undocumented immigrants. No, the children of undocumented immigrants who are born here in the U.S., they're citizens, and they can get in-state already. This is for students who themselves are illegal aliens. They also say, oh, they were brought here when they were so young. You know, little babies. That's not necessarily true. They only have to have gone to Maryland schools for 3 years. They could have come when they were teenagers. They say they have to register for the draft. They already have to register for the draft. And to my knowledge, the government doesn't prosecute citizens, non-citizens, any type of young men that don't register for the draft. I think that's pretty much being ignored. So there's a lot of bogus stuff in this law. But the most important thing is, even if they get a degree, they are still illegal aliens, and they still cannot work legally in the U.S. So the big question is, why would we subsidize the education of someone? And that's what the other side will say is, oh, so they can contribute. Well, they can't contribute. And whereas maybe like a restaurant would hire a dishwasher without checking their citizenship status, if someone is a doctor or a lawyer or has a business degree or comes out of a university like University of Maryland and gets a good job, they're going to check. That person is not going to be able to slip under the radar screen. Okay, big question is, what is the cost of this bill? Short answer, nobody knows. Nobody knows, because we don't know how many illegal alien students are out there. We don't know how many we're going to take advantage of this. We don't know how many are going to go on from community college to universities. So it's a big unknown. But the Maryland Department of Legislative Services said it would cost about $800,000 the first year, and it would go up to $3.5 million a year by 2016. Well, that's lowball. This is the number that was given to the politicians when they voted on this bill. But if you look at how they came up with this number, it's extremely lowballed. The difference between in-state and out-of-state at community college community colleges in Maryland is about $6,000. The difference between in-state and out-of-state at a university is about $16,000. So for somebody to get their associate's degree, just 2 years of community college, we're subsidizing them by $12,000. If there's 1,000 illegal alien students that take advantage of that, that's 12 million. If there are 2,000, that's 24 million. Now if they go on to get their bachelor's, we're subsidizing their education to the tune of $44,000. So again, if there's 1,000 people that take advantage of it, that's $44 million a year. It keeps building because, you know, they become freshmen. So the potential amount could be very high. And interesting, right after the law was passed, before Casa de Maryland, everybody know who Casa de Maryland is? Have you heard of this group? They're a group that advocates for immigrants in Maryland, legal or illegal. They don't care. Casa bragged, right after the law was passed, they bragged they were going to do outreach to find all the students who were eligible and help them apply. And they estimated that they would triple the number that had been estimated. So it's a big number. But more importantly, let's forget about the money. Let's say nobody takes advantage of it. Let's say they're right. It's only, you know, like $1 million a year. You know, not that much. The most important thing is this bill, this law is not about money. It's not about tax money. It is not about helping children. It is about erasing the distinction between citizenship and non-citizens. This, and as you see, as I go on, you're going to see, the other side is fighting this because what they want to do is they want to make living in the United States, it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or a non-citizen. They want everybody, citizens and non-citizens alike, to be treated completely equally, just making citizenship irrelevant. So that's what this fight is really about. Okay, how many people here know Neil Parrott, delegate from District 2B in Washington County? Okay, he's the big hero of this story. He set up an online website where you could sign a petition against SB 167. You could do it online. And you could also download the petitions to give to your friends. He needed 55,736 signatures by June 30th. The project gathered, and I know he, but it's all of us. I know a lot of you did that were out getting the petitions as well. This was a big, big effort. We gathered 132,000. We needed 55,000, we got 132,000. 109,000 of those were valid. 35,000 came from his computer, the online thing, and 73,000 were collected the good old-fashioned ways, people on street corners. Of those, 63,000 were Republicans, but 32,000 were Democrats, and over 12,000 were independents. And you figure that he started with his Republican network. So you would expect Republicans to be overrepresented because they were the first people to hear about it. But what you can see by looking at the signatures and the makeup is that when people hit the streets, it didn't matter if you were Republican, Democrat, Independent. Everyone understood how crazy this thing was. It's also, so this is the first successful petition drive in 20 years. Okay, in 1992, the petition was to repeal limits on abortions. So what it was liberal Maryland fighting back against Annapolis. They were making things more liberal. So here, what we have is a situation in liberal Maryland where the people are fighting Annapolis over illegal immigration. I mean, this is truly an amazing thing. This is shows that Annapolis has just gotten way to the left of even, believe it or not, Maryland. Okay, so Casa de Maryland was totally blindsided by this. They had absolutely no idea that there was so much opposition, and they had no idea that the opposition could organize itself so quickly, because they only had 60 days to do this. The bill was passed in April. They had to get all those signatures by June 30th. So CASA, you know, because they all talk to each other and think it's all wonderful. They don't talk to people like us. You know, all the liberal Democrats and groups, you know, they don't even have friends or neighbors like us. So it just totally stunned them that people might think this is a bad idea. So CASA brought in somebody brought in one of the Democratic National Committee's best lawyers, a guy named Joe Sandler. He goes all over the country. He's an election expert. Goes all over the country trying to bust these things up. So Sandler and CASA, they got copies of all of the petitions, including your names, your addresses, your dates of birth. They got that all. Those are public records. In the past, Sandler, he's fought against referendums against gay marriage. They put up websites that listed everyone who signed the petition against this. And they said, look your neighbors up and start a conversation with them. So it was an intimidation factor. So there's a little concern that the other side has got those names. In August, CASA and 8 other groups sued. They said there weren't enough signatures. They're saying that the online petition process is illegal, because the law says you have to fill out the information, and they're saying, oh, well, the computer filled it out. You didn't fill it out. They also said that this bill was could not be petitioned to referendum because the Maryland Constitution exempts appropriations bills. So they say, oh, this is an appropriations bill, even though it's not. It has no money in it assigned. It's just policy. So that was their 2 legs of their lawsuit, and it would go to court sometime in the spring. Now in December, they gave up on the sufficiency part. They admitted that even if they threw out all the online petitions, there were still enough good ones. So they cried uncle on that. So now MD Petitions, Neil Parrott's group, and Judicial Watch are petitioning the court to throw out the other part because it's so bogus. And that's actually tomorrow. The hearing is tomorrow. So if it goes our way tomorrow, then it's, you know, we know that it's going to be on the ballot in November, and we can start planning and doing right away. The next step, assuming it gets thrown out here in tomorrow, we got to wait for the Maryland Secretary of State to decide on the language, how the referendum is going to be put on the ballot, what the language is going to be.
Spanish.
It's in Spanish. Might be true. Casa de Maryland lawyers are already lobbying to try to make the language as confusing as possible. Casa, and there's also a coalition of religious groups in Maryland. The Catholic Church, the Lutheran Church, the Quakers, Jewish groups. I mean, it's an ecumenical group that is supporting this bill. They've already started doing focus group surveys to find out what are the key words that get people to like it or dislike it, and how to word the referendum to make it sound bad. Okay, so Judicial Watch again is helping us, trying to represent our side to make sure they don't come up with something that is very confusing. You know, they could referendum to stop cuddly, smart young people from getting an education. You know, are you for or against it? They could. We know it'll be referendum 1, but we don't know if we're going to be voting yes on one or voting no on one. So that's I mean, as soon as we find out whether the message is vote yes on one or no on one, then we can really start promoting it and start the campaigning. But at this point, we're still in limbo. Casa de Maryland obviously thinks their lawsuit's going to fail because they have hired a professional fundraiser and a staff to raise $10 million to defeat this. This was the ad in the Post. This is the goal, $10 million. Now again, if they believe their own numbers, and if this was really about the kids, and if it was really about money, they'd take that $10 million and give scholarships. Because these illegal aliens can still go to college. We're not saying they can't go to college. We're just saying they have to pay out of state as if they came from their home country.
There's your verbiage right there.
So,
if they really believe.
Yeah, so this is clearly, like I said, they're raising $10 million because they want to win, because they want to erase the difference, or they want to erase any distinction between citizen and non-citizen. That is at the root of this whole effort. Let's see. Oh, so anyway, this is going to be a tremendous battle. Maryland is going to be the Arizona. What Arizona was in 2010, Maryland will be in 2012. The other side will tell you there's like 11 states that give in-state tuition to illegal aliens. What they don't tell you is over half of them are considering reversing that. A win here for us in Maryland is going to give comfort and courage to other states that will want to reverse their dumb action. If we can beat this in deep blue Maryland, I mean, it's really going to, that'll be the end of anyone trying to say that illegal aliens should get in-state tuition. Because if it fails here, it's going to fail anywhere. So let me sum up here. One of the things, obviously when things get rolling, we need your help in terms of promoting vote yes or vote no. This is an activist thing that everyone needs to help. Also, please donate. The other side's going to have a ton of money. Now we don't need to match them dollar for dollar. If it's 10 million to 1 million or 10 million to 2 million, we're going to win. But if it's 10 million to 0, we're in trouble. So think about, donating to Maryland Petitions or Judicial Watch or Help Save Maryland or other, get involved. I'm not asking for money myself, but we have to start thinking about like tithing for our freedom. The other side is very, very well funded, and we have just got to make that sacrifice. And if everyone makes a little sacrifice, it'll add up, because we have the numbers with us. Going into November, the other side's going to have a lot of money, no foot soldiers. We're going to have lots of foot soldiers, not much money. So that's where the battle's shaping up. And finally, in the General Assembly that's going on right now, Neil Parrott's got 3 bills that we should support. One is he wants to make it so that petition information is kept private, so that people cannot be intimidated for taking advantage of their constitutional right to petition the government. He also wants to allow citizens to petition against appropriations bills. And finally, he's got a bill that would allow people to re-sign the petition if there's an error. My petition did not count. I don't know. But it was rejected for what all it said is signature issue. There's no way for me to know what that is, and there's no way for me to fix it.
It's the same way your name is on the voting registration.
And I'm Charles Paul Mendez, and I could have, I don't know what it is, but they won't. But the key thing is they won't tell me. I registered to vote like 30 years ago. So we allow provisional ballots. We allow people to vote who can't prove who they are or can't fill things out. But we say that if you make one little mistake on your petition, if you sign it Betsy when your name is Elizabeth, it gets thrown out. Well, that's absurd. So those 3 things, keep an eye out for those, because that's what he's working on. So, I'm done.
Well,
yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you, Paul.